everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're looking at the New Mutants War Children number 1 out of 1 from 2019. So this is when Chris Claremont kind of goes back. Now, this is my fault. I put it in the wrong place. This actually takes place after New Mutants Special number 1 where they go to Valhalla. But somehow I put it where it doesn't go. So um I'm gonna record it now. But in the playlist, I have a New Mutants playlist. I have an X Universe playlist, an X-Men playlist, an X Factor playlist, a Wolverine playlist. So on the New Mutants and on the X Universe playlist, this will be in the right place after the um New Mutants special X-Men Annual number 9 where they go to Asgard. So all right. And so this is illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz. However, it is digitally illustrated. This is Bill Sienkiewicz's digital when he does digital watercoloring and digital art. It sort of looks through this filter. And so these are some of the variant covers that were released for this. And here we go. So it starts out with the New Mutants here. And Chris Claremont is our writer, and Bill Sienkiewicz is the illustrator. And this is really a story. There's two stories here, but there's a main story. It's Warlock, um, and it's Illyana kind of coming to terms with her demonic self. And then there's a little bit of a story, a third story, if you will, but it's that one just kind of runs in the background with Hela trying to bring Danny Moonstar, because Danny is one of the Valkyrie. And so we start out with Warlock having a panic attack because he has to one day become the Magus. Again, this is digitally, Bill Sienkiewicz in digital. So it's a little bit weirder than even his regular inking style. So I find that if you give Bill Sienkiewicz any kind of tool, he is just gonna maximize it and just put in a lot of stuff here, so you can see some splatter that he's applying and all that. But the figure work is definitely his. And so we get our characters here. So we've got Danny Moonstar Mirage, and then her horse Brightwing, Elena Rasputin Magic, Ron Sinclair Wolfsbane, Sam Guthrie Cannonball, and of course his girlfriend Leela Cheney, and then Doug Ramsey and Kitty Pryde with Loki'd. And see what I mean that I put it in the wrong place, because of course we went past the Mutant Massacre, which of course Kitty is no longer in the X-Men. But anyway, Karma here, Shan Koi Mon, and then Magma here, Amada Juliana Olivians Aquila, and then Sunspot Roberto da Costa. And here we see Warlock again having his little panic attack, and he says to become the Magus, he must annihilate all that he holds most dear. And then here we see Hela, and that is, of course, to become the Magus, he has to kill the New Mutants, otherwise be destroyed by them. And so part of what makes this issue a little bit hard to read per se, or kind of focus, is Bill Sienkiewicz. Um, his digital style is even more messy than his regular style. I mean, I think he is drawing at a gazillion miles an hour, and he's just, I don't know. So it's a little bit more difficult, I think, now that he's drawing digital, to kind of focus. His art is really messy, and this is speaking to someone that is a big fan of Bill Sienkiewicz. I follow Bill Sienkiewicz on Instagram. I love his sketches, so I still like his art a lot. But I noticed that when he starts to do um, work inside, uh, regular book work, not just covers or pinups. It's sort of like this, like I said, very kind of messy. And so we get everybody here, and then you see like a big explosion, sort of, as Warlock leaves the mansion. And so the mansion, it catches fire, and they said the professor's gonna kill us. So because it takes place after the New Mutant special, Xavier hasn't quite left. I think he is in X-Men 200. So this is sort of taking place while the New Mutants were sent back, and the professor was dealing with Magneto's trial. I say Magneto, not Magneto. And so Danny says, "Get real, guys. This happens to the X-Men all the time." And Rain says, "Danny, I heard Warlock scream. It sounded awful. He sounded afraid." And what do we do, boss? Probably Cannonball. Oh, that was Ileana. We find Locke, Ileana, figure out what's going on, and set things right. And so you see Cypher and Sunspot here. And Cypher asks what happened to the room. And Sunspot is like, everything about it, it looks like him, but wrong. And Rain says, he's never done anything like this before. And Rain says, Birdo, be careful. The room's alive. Do not, it's basically, don't let it. And then it touches him. And she says, touch. And then he's like, I'm infected by the transmode virus. I'm doomed. I feel strange. Look at me. I've already become a ghost. And suddenly you hear here, relax, everyone. Look after Birdo. I'll get rid of the room, says Liana. And Cypher says, how does that make things better? By teleporting the room, you just infected Limbo. And Ileana says, don't be such a dunce, Doug. I didn't send it there. I dumped it beyond the end of reality, where it'll never be found and can't infect anyone. And then she says, I hope. And then Kitty's being held by Loki, and Kitty's holding Sunspot. Oh, let me go back real quick. I like this because Sunspot normally is drawn fully black. Bill Sienkiewicz kind of does, for a change, a little bit here. Otherwise, we would just have blackness, and we wouldn't be able to, like, you'd see this hand coming out of nowhere. So most of the time, he just draws a black figure. So I was gonna mention that it was really cool that Sienkiewicz sort of left a little piece there to show the arm. And so Kitty says, you're not infected. And then he's like, what? You're just intangible. I've got you. Loki's got me. Everything is okay. And Danny says, Warlock left a pretty clear trail, boss. That was Sam, sorry. And Mirage says, just be careful, Sam. And then she gasps, rising out of my wrist, calm. And you see Hela who's the goddess of death from Thor. And she says, Moonstar, thou art summoned to thy destiny. And Danny says, no, thou protest in vain. However thou wert born, now and forever, thou art one of my Valkyries, chosen of the slain. And you're gonna see here, this is one of the things that I do that is a big pet peeve of mine, whether it's been Bill Sienkiewicz doing it or whatever. And you're gonna see it really good on Danny here, but you're gonna see these little lines here, and I've made a point of it before. She goes never and destroys the calm, and Danny says, Hella changed, like she was infected by Warlock's virus. What does that mean? What role am I supposed to play? So this is what I hate. So you see these little lines here. This is what happens in an iPad or if you're using Photoshop. But I bet you Sienkiewicz is using an iPad. There's a setting that if you just dump color, like this is all black, for example, and you just dump color, it leaves these edges. All you have to do is change a setting, and it'll make these lines go away. But Sienkiewicz is just dumping the color and not messing with the settings, and it creates these lines here where he was just dumping the color. And it's a big pet peeve of mine. I don't know. I just wish he's not the only one that does it. I just wish people that drew digital would just fix the setting. It's a setting that that you dump color and it doesn't leave these lines there. So anyway, it'll come up again and I'll probably make another comment about it, just letting you know that it's a pet peeve of mine. So I always call it out. So anyway, so Danny's called out here, and that was Rain, and she says, I'm fine. And of course, the two of them are bonded. The Xavier kind of bonded them together. They have like a rapport. And so Danny knows she's lying, but she doesn't care. And Danny says, Kitty, get your dragon after Sam. Right now, everyone's got to keep their distance from Warlock. And so Kitty says, you heard her, Loki. Be careful. We're coming right behind you. And Magic says, swept the whole mansion, Danny. No other signs of infections close up. Looks like Locke's headed for the ridgeline at the west end of the estate. And she says, everyone suit up. And Magic says, that'll take time we don't have, boss. If you'll allow me, she snaps her fingers. And everyone gets a New Mutants uniform, even Kitty. And Kitty's annoyed because she's an X-Men. And Cypher says, you come on a mission with us, Kitty. Only fair you dress the part. We may be friends, Ramsey, but don't push your luck. So, all right, and so here we go to the end where Xavier's in the trees. You can see that they are with the techno-organic virus here. And Danny says, look what Locke's done to the whole The whole forest has changed. It's so still. All the animals, even bugs, have fled. My senses tell me nothing around us is alive. And so, anyway, tonight keeps getting better and better. Not only will we get nailed for thrashing the mansion, now we'll likely take the rap for ruining the whole estate, assuming we even survive. And so that was Sunspot saying that. And Eliana says, stop your whining, billionaire boy. I think this new landscape's kind of cute. And of course, Sunspot says, big surprise, demon girl. Say that with a smile, Berto, and respects. Demons have temper. And so, again, Bill Sienkiewicz just kind of drawing shapes here. I find his style to be fascinating. I really hated it at first, but I was just kind of a kid. I was not a big fan of his work, but have learned to love it as kind of things go through. So anyway, or life goes on as I've gotten older. So I've liked it, but I am not, like I mentioned, I'm not sold on his digital style. It does seem much more messier. And so Magma says, Atlanta's not joking, is she? And Kitty says, she's my best friend, Amara, and most times can't even tell for sure. I have a bad feeling, Danny. It's been a while since I sent Loki after Sam. And so, man, the horse almost looks like a dead. And um, Cypher says, guys, all this looks creepy, yeah, but I don't sense any hostility. What, Cypher? Now you can translate the language of plants? And Cypher says, I don't know, Bobby. I haven't tried. What I'm reading is the language of Warlock's trail. He's scared. And Sunspot says, that guarantees nothing, Doug. Fear can make even the best of people do awful things. And this is funny. This my God, he's just scribbling here. So this is Wolfsbane. Danny, everyone, look. And so here comes um, Cannonball here. Sam and Loki are coming back, and she goes, "Wait, something's wrong," and they have been infected by the virus here, and so now everyone is talking sort of the way of it, and Danny is too. You can see by stupid fleshling had their chance and self this and self that. So it looks like um, things are becoming like the techno-organic virus here. And so we are sort of going to now move without really reading here. I'm just going to, because we're just going to have a battle here. This issue, like I said, it's a one shot here, kind of just Chris Claremont wanted to do something, and Chris Claremont never writes he's never assigned anything, so he always has to look for work. So he always comes up with stories that he can fit in his time because he doesn't really read X-Men anymore, so he doesn't know what's going on. So he just kind of puts things, and then he finds a place to fit it here. But sometimes he doesn't go back and actually read what was happening. So, like, I covered one of the stories that he did when he was that took place after Cyclops left with Maddie, and everything was wrong with it. Like, his dad was there, and of course his dad wasn't there because his dad was trapped in outer space during that time. A lot of stuff happened in that issue, and I was like, I don't think he went back and read it. So I think he went by memory, but it's been so long, I think he forgot. So Chris Claremont is guilty of that. And you can see here again where the lines are where he was just dropping ink. And so Cypher and Wolfsbane are running, and she says, grab fast to me, Doug. I'll carry you. We have to outrun those flames. And so Magma says, Rain and Douglas do not have a chance. I fear none of us do against such monsters in open combat. Their slightest touch will make us just like them. Our only hope is for me to enclose them with unbreakable sphere of magma. So, and here you see Sunspot using like a bat or something, and then Magic holds him and teleports him here, and Magma is now being infected because her power is part of her. So when she uses the magma, it's actually a part of her. So when she touches the things, she also becomes techno-organic. So, and so now they're in limbo, and Sunspot's like, take us back. We have to warn her right now. Get her out of there. And she says it's too late. And so she's becoming like him here. So again, this it's a bit of a messy. Like I said, this is a bit of a rough read. I'm a big I will defend Bill Sienkiewicz a lot, but this particular issue and a lot of issues that he does digitally, he's got out one with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that was really hard to read. So um now Magic is pissed here, and she's like, "You fools, what have you done?" And she's giving in to her demon side because she's so pissed. And Magic now, the demon Magic is becoming like Warlock, but she is a little different. So she is actually able to withstand the becoming, not becoming like Warlock, but she's not possessed. She actually does the possessing. So Rain here says, "Merciful heaven, what's happened to Ileana?" And she says, uh, "That Ileana, be real, Rain. She's not even human anymore. Body and soul, she's a demon. And what am I? Way, way better. Always was and always will be." And so, Wolfsbane doesn't like her power, but everybody accepts her, but it's hard for her to accept herself. And so, Karma's gonna try to possess uh, Magic, but she's not able to. Um, she she's too powerful. So, and then of course Stanley had passed away during that summer, or that month that this came out. So, or the month before, so they did a tribute to him in that previous page. So she decides she's gonna try to kill Karma here, and but of course she doesn't. And so um sees these and she's too powerful, so she is going to try and take them to the to be hers, to be her demons and her soldiers. And so she explains here that they try to assimilate them, but she assimilated them, and so now she's going to take over. And they warn her about the tendrils, but of course she changes to uh, human, and of course her costume shows up with her because they don't want her to be naked. So she says that the costume is protects her like armor. And so Doug has a plan. Ileana kind of teases him that he's the weakest of everybody, but he actually comes up with a plan, and he's gonna go find Warlock. And Warlock says, "Go away." And look at this glob. And so he's like, uh, sorry, I almost said Warlock. Cypher um uh says uh sorry. Wolfsbane says, "Forgive me, my friend," and Cypher's like, "Uh oh, I fear that moment may have passed." And so basically, Warlock says, "Go away, or I'm gonna, have to destroy you." And Doug is like, "No, I won't." Here you can see again. He drops the black, but and anyway, and he's not afraid, and he lets him try to destroy him, but Warlock realizes he can't and kind of snaps out of that thing and goes back to being his lovable self. So he says Warlock and Magus must always battle, and only one can survive. I've already actually covered that story in New Mutants 50. Again, I have a playlist. And he says, you who says that's the way things have to be? You can choose to walk a different path." And so he says, "We'll find a way to win because we're family." And he goes ahead and offers to touch him without the glove. And they're like, "Are you sure?" And they do, and they hold hands. And look at Rain here, and nothing happened. So now they have to try and get Ileana to go back to normal. And here comes Warlock, And so they're going to fight her, and together with Doug, they kind of get into Ilyana here as they're going to try, and the two of them help her out. And um, basically, we're going to have here Ilyana um, fight her demon, and so the two of them are gonna go in there, and then Ilyana's gonna be able to take over her, and you can see Ilyana defeats her, and um, she knows that she has that demon inside her. However, she's not gonna be dominated by her, and so as everything comes through, you can still see Hela here, and this part is funny. You can see a mustache on the whatever, the daisy, the flower here, and everything kind of goes back to normal. And so Hela's still saying, "Hey, I'm waiting for you." And she's like, "I made a choice. We're all mortal, Hela. That's true, but none of us will die today. You have a problem with that?" And so she says, "Nope, not today. I find the most intriguing child. We shall talk of this further at another time." This is a nice splash page here. And so we get to our last page, and Danny says, "I so do not want another day like this. Not now, not ever." And Kitty says, "Oh, yeah." And Rain says, "I thought it was fun. And best of all, we taught that evil creature lurking within Ileana a proper lesson." And so then they're all like, "How are we going to explain it?" And so blame the dragon. And Kitty's like, "In your dreams." And he suggests another visit, perhaps by the Impossible Man, which will happen actually in New Mutants Annual number 3, which I actually have covered. But what they meant is the Impossible Man had shown up in an X-Men annual, so he's saying that. So anyway, so that was it. So New Mutants War Children by Chris Claremont and Bill Sienkiewicz. Do you guys like his digital style? Um, I found it a little tough to read the art with the art here. So that was one of the things that I just had a problem sort of reading it, but all in all, I guess not too bad. And I get crucified every time I critique someone on new art style. When I've been critiquing Frank Miller's, I've got 2 videos, and some people just lose their minds of it, but whatevs. Anyway, like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.